So how was the journey from like, we did it all by our hands, delivered by our friends, and now we have a factory. How did it go? How did you manage to finance it even? That seems difficult by itself to figure that out.
Yeah, so I mean, when you're scaling, it's different because now you obviously can't be mixing the products yourself. So you have to have really good partners and partners who understand like your quality, your formulation. You even have to secure your formulation. When we do our purchase, we take 30 minutes to an hour. It's a whole production. And now for this incubators, they're telling you elevator pitch 1 minute. If you can't sell your business in a minute, you're cooked.
How do you see now the wave of AI tools coming up, and into literally everything?
With AI and the way things are moving, you just have to be in the system, and we use AI to help like plan for our content. Even like we have helping people to manage like your diary so that you don't overbook or double book. Or book a day before. There's so many uses for AI, and I think we've just barely scratched the surface.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Pivot, the podcast where we bring you honest, unfiltered journeys from Africa's entrepreneurs and innovators.
I'm Kabwela Malupande, joined by my co-host Martin Vitek. Each episode, we dive deep into the realities of building and growing businesses on our continent. Let's get started. This is Beyond the Pivot.
Our guest today is Njoki Njoroge, the founder and CEO of Mandevu Beardcare, where she is redefining the men's grooming landscape. With a background in marketing and communications, she brings a unique perspective on how small businesses can leverage technology and data to move from guessing to knowing. Her journey from an international relations student to a pioneering entrepreneur building a lifestyle brand from her kitchen reflects a masterful ability to identify market gaps and bridge the gaps between a digital-first innovation and physical retail expansion. We are happy to have you, Njoki, and welcome to Beyond the Pivot.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. I'm happy to be here again.
Yeah, it was a struggle for our listeners. We were struggling on both parts. Technology looks like we are better in doing the businesses than the recording podcasts. So take us back to the time at home when you were just doing your natural hair products in the kitchen, and your husband comes by and starts using them on his beard. What was the moment you thought this could be a business?
So it started in reverse. The products did not come before the problem. So my then boyfriend, this is almost 10 years ago, because this 2026 we celebrate 10 years this year. Then he kept facial hair, and I've had natural hair for a very long time, and I've always made my concoctions. Well, not concoctions really. Like I mix my own oils depending on how my hair is at that time, at any given time. Yeah. So if my hair is dry, I'll know what to use. So he kept asking, "What my beard feels a bit dry. What do you think I should use?" And I was like, "Oh, you could use jojoba oil, or you could use castor oil." And there's always a batch. And I also really, from before, I think from even like after uni, I always would like to keep and try products and different ingredients anyway. So he asked that, and it became like repetitive. He'd ask like, what comes first? Is it shampoo or conditioner, or is it? He would ask such questions, and then I just thought, if men like you who are okay with keeping their facial hair, would they be having like the same issues that you're having, like the same questions, like you want to keep the beard, but you really don't know what to do with it, And so I did ask a few of my friends and a few of my family who have they would keep a goatee, just different types of hairstyles, facial hairstyles. So I did just a very quick Q&A about 10 of friends and family, and they're like, "Oh, I don't use anything," or "Oh, I use my sister's products," or "Oh, I use my mom's," or whatever my mom has at any one time I'll use, or I use my wife's products. And I was like, do you are those things serving? It's like, yeah, but some of them smell a little, a little sweet. I don't mind. Others are like, it's just guesswork. And I did have about 2 to 3 people who said that they use they wait for somebody to travel and then they send them. So if someone's going to, to the States or to the UK or wherever it is outside, or even Dubai, they'll be like, okay, in 2 weeks my products will be here, and they'll get to use whatever is being used out there. And I was like, oh, okay, would you think you'd like to have like products here, like made by us and for us? And they're like, yeah, I've never thought of it, but I think it could work. And yeah, that's how it started, honestly. So it was the reverse, not the making of products and then giving them. It was from, there's a real need for this, and there's, not fit for purpose. So, and also people, there maybe like in year one, like of the trial, we could, of course, we always ask, oh, what do you use? And people would say petroleum, whatever is there. So they would use something, but it was not fit for the purpose of facial hair. And like really, facial hair is very different from the hair on your head. So like, okay, there's a real need there. There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's how it started. So
Okay.
If you're enjoying this episode, take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us reach more people and keep these conversations going. Thanks for your support.
So in the end, the boyfriend at the time kind of like sparked the curiosity. So you started doing market research, and then you figure out there's literally like nothing.
But I didn't even call it.
Yeah.
I didn't even call it market research. It was very simple because I was like, oh, and even before, I remember like even just going to the shelves, and even growing up, I have 2 brothers and they would always be in my room. And it would really annoy me. They would always be in my room with my products, whether it's deal, whether it's oil, just butters. They'd always say I have better variety. So I don't know if I was a better shopper or my mom was a better shopper for me, but them, they would have maybe 1 or 2 and they wouldn't like whatever it is that they have. And especially like as teenagers, you try out a lot of things. So I think the men's offering generally for the first few years, even if I go back to like, to like 20 years ago, the offering has always been very little. It's always a very small aisle in the supermarket, or, and even true to like in 2015, 2016, when now more people are, wanting to take care of themselves, and it's not seen as a too much thing, because I think that narrative is changing, has of course completely changed since 2016. Men's offerings has always been less, and yeah, men would have to figure out what to do, and also then I think they don't really care. But now, myself growing up, I remember, honestly, my brothers would always be in my products, and of course the women's section is always with so many things, so many varieties. But I think as the world is changing, the men are like, okay, I don't like this dry filling, or I don't like this rough looking, or whatever it is, I want to be put together. Then now the solution starts coming, because now there's that change generally in the world.
You study international relations, right?
Yes.
But doing these kind of formulas and so on, it's more like chemistry, So
yeah.
When you were at school, you were maybe imagining you work at the United Nations or something like that, and now you are a chemist in your kitchen trying to blend these things to fit men's faces. What was the change like? Was it kind of confusing? Were you like ready to go right away and like leave that career you studied for? And what was the change in your mindset there?
Yeah, of course. I studied international relations, and I always thought that I'll be a diplomat, right? And I mean, in the beginning, I was always like, oh my goodness, is this? I don't know how am I changing the world this way, but I think in my own little capacity in the on the side of the internet, I mean, I stopped questioning, and I was like, you know what? There's many ways. There's many ways to be part of the world, not just what you thought. Yeah, but it was always, because even before I went into Mandevu, I after finishing my degree, I worked in IT, and then I worked at a marketing agency, an advertising firm, and yeah, I think it was always, I think my worldview kept changing. I was like, okay, I guess there's many ways to live life, and I can't be stuck to this, to this idea of, driving a red plate or whatever. I was like, I think there's always another way to get to the end point. And I always call myself like an accidental entrepreneur. I never actually thought I'd be an entrepreneur, but I just found like day to day, because I started consulting on doing media plans way before Mandevu. And then the more I went with the flow of things, just taking month by month, work increased, and then one thing always led to another. And I think by the time the idea for Mandevu came, I think I was open, and I was like, oh, let's see where this idea lands us. But it was never, oh, when I grow up, I want to be an entrepreneur. And maybe those are the ones who make the best entrepreneurs, because they're like, okay, let's go along and see. I don't know. It's up for debate.
I mean, you're doing pretty good for yourself, I would say. So that's been
Yeah.
evidenced by there is more than one ways on the journey, right? Like you said,
Yes, I think
more ways to
so.
get to the end point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does Mandevu stand for? Does it mean anything, or
It
is it just a
does.
word you come up with?
It does. We had very many names when we were trying, like with the team, we were trying to think, or do we call it Obeard? And then, working in advertising, personally, I knew that the name had to have a meaning, right? And you can't just call it, oh, my dear beard, or whatever it is. So, like, I kept writing and writing, like on the board, so that the idea can resonate. And the biggest idea from the beginning was for it to be a brand for men, because like I mentioned before, there was nothing really for the man. So in that, we had to have a man somewhere there. And then I'm telling you, I think that's what they call inspiration. I remember writing, and I saved this. I took a picture of how I wrote it on the board, because I had a whiteboard in my office. I wrote Mandevu, and then I said the man has to be bold. The man has to be bold, because the man is what we're focusing on, and we'll forever focus on the men's products, because there's no really offering. And I cannot tell you how like exciting it was when it clicked. I was like, yes, 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 that is it. So I remember scribbling Mandevu, and then I was like, Mandevu means beard. And then, so in Swahili, so it's etymology is Mandevu. Mandevu means beard in Swahili, in the Swahili language, and then Mandevu. And also people who keep beards are usually called Mandevu, like men. And this is from time before. Like you'll get a nickname and you'll be called, hey, that guy, Mandevu. Mandevu has come. Like that man who keeps a beard has come. So I was like, the people who get it will get it, and immediately will understand what it is that we're trying to sell or what we're trying to do. And of course, it's beyond the products and it's beyond the thing. So it's something for the man who takes care of himself, the man who builds a routine around not just how he takes care of his face or his hair, but in his appearance, how he conducts himself, how much discipline he has in what he says he'll do something, he'll keep his word and he'll do it. So that's the type of man we think of when you think of a Mandevu man. Yeah, so the man, and I remember at the beginning we kept saying the man is bold. The man is bold. So the man in the logo itself had to be bold, so that you get it, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And we were like, yes, obviously a few African countries will get it, and the ones beyond our border will. I think the spirit of it will get to understand what it is that we're trying to do. Look at me, I get so excited when I talk about it.
Yeah, it's good. Like, getting the name is sometimes the toughest part, right? Like getting the name right. Because like you said, I'm using oh dear my beard. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
that well as Mandevu, or if you have any other genius ideas. You used to work in consulting for like media and advertising and so on. So you knew how important the name is. But are there any other like people the other mistakes that people usually do when they're starting of their brand? Because you start in a kitchen, that means a low budget. I suppose you don't have much money to experiment with. So what was your like the first year and like the mistakes you think you avoided by having that experience?
Okay, that honestly, the first year was, and maybe even up to date. It was quite scrappy because you know you're using what you have with the resources. Thankfully, I had that advertising background and that media background. So, and also the even with my IT experience. So I had, and before we never used to call it digital, we used to say IT, right? And then now it evolved into, like social media platforms. And also I had that scrappiness. So even in the scrappiness, how we first launched the business was through our website. We're digital first and have always been, so we had an e-commerce website. So we're like, we don't have an office, there's nowhere to distribute the products from. We had a very simple, and even I might say frustrating website before, but that's what we started where we were. So it was very simple. We had the beard oil, only the beard oil to start with, and all we needed to do was know where you want the product delivered and like which day, and then a payment system. So linked to the website. We knew that has to be, because we're like, we can't go to the stores, we can't go, not yet at least, and we wanted to keep the cost very low. Not even we had no choice. So we just needed to know we have to have riders. Riders are delivery people. So we have to have the best. And then something else we had to do was to make sure our service is above the rest, so that someone is trusting you. And then in 2016, 2017, and people really did not trust anything coming off from the internet. Like they'd call you and they'd ask you, where are you located? And you're saying, I'm home, And then they're like, what do you mean you're home? Are you real? Are you going to take my money? Can I pay on delivery? So we accepted the pay on delivery at first, yeah? And so that people can trust, because you're trying to build trust. This hasn't been done before. And, there was then like Jumia, you know about Jumia. Jumia was in Kenya. There was a splash of people trying online to sell things, but there was always like, pay on delivery because we don't trust you. We don't know where you'll run to. And yeah, so we had to make do with that, in the spirit of being scrappy. So we had very good riders I remember our first riders was a company called Sandy, and they had the best riders. So we'd work with riders from Sandy, and very trustworthy. They'd collect the payments on our behalf, or now no, not collect. They would, when they deliver the product, the customer would now send to our payment collection, right? But yeah, and we did have people who actually never used to pay, because so in the same way they were not trusting an internet product. Even us, we did have some losses in that. Especially there's one product we delivered out of town, which was a very big mistake, and the person got the product, and I remember we sent it via bus to Northern, I think it was Mandera, and they never paid, and they stopped picking our calls, and we're like, maybe this is the real cost of business, We're trusting, because you want everybody to try your product, and you're very happy that they bought the product and that they trust you. Of course you're naive and you get burned. So now we came up with ways of, collecting and, building this trust over time. And also building the trust is just not selling the product. We give tips, and we still do, free consultations on taking care of your skin, taking care of your beard, taking care of your hair as well, and just general mental well-being. Yeah. So it took some time for people to be like, okay, this is real, and they're not going anywhere. But yeah, some of the mistakes I think we make, and even in other businesses that I've done, it's sometimes you're too quick we're not very patient because that can be frustrating. People going away with your money. Some riders also, other than because you'd have many types of riders. Some are very good, and we found excellent ones. But on the offside, you'd find a rider also who might be a bit rude to your clients or a bit impatient. So we had to build that. So you have to know the bigger picture is to give people an exemplary service. And, even we had a return policy. We didn't really have much of return policies, because I remember even in uni once, seeing a product, goods cannot be returned once sold. There's a policy, a consumer, but I think that has changed ever since now. I mean, we're in 2026, but you couldn't return a product before. But one of our services was, if you don't like your product, you're free to return. Because also we could see the trend with countries abroad. People could return products, like, what do you mean you can return products? Like, if you're not satisfied, you have a product return guarantee. Yeah, so those things build trust.
Yeah, so the first year, maybe a couple of years, were mostly about building trust here, and that you did everything possible, even those things that were not asked of you, like, having the return policy, delivering, and payment upon delivery and so on. And you mentioned the guy that didn't pay, that you had to kind of get out of town to deliver. And I'm thinking that guy made the biggest mistake of his life, because now you know about him and he will have no more products for his beard. He will never be able to ask for advice. So it was the costliest mistake the guy made, not to pay for that beard oil.
Yeah, but it was also, I mean, it's just a business cost, because now, of course, you're also very trusting and you're eager to please, And of course, to look back, I'd definitely find a way around it, because there was no way. Where are we going to find him in Mandera or wherever it was? The back, it's gone. You've incurred the cost for out of town, But if it's here, if it was like in Nairobi or within the city, you'll be able to track it down, or at least when he gets the delivery, he'll pay. So we didn't have any mechanism then. Yeah. So you learn from that and you iterate and you know now what to do. But it hurts, because you're like, isn't everybody honest in this in this business? Yeah. And of course
True.
like,
so
yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, and then obviously the issue of people wanting to know, can I collect the product? Where are you? And you're giving them like a home address. And eventually we got to, have like an admin office where people could pick. And the funny thing is, then 9-10 years ago, people it's not really that they wanted to come to like where you're selling from or producing. It's just that they want to know that if this is a real business, and if anything goes wrong, I have a place to go. Because now, after a few years, now we did invest in a small office, and so people could come and we would very confidently say, when they say, oh, where are you located? And you would indicate on our website, where are you located? Can I come collect myself? I don't want to pay delivery fees. We'd confidently tell them, yes, we're here. And they would still ask for a delivery. But now in the end, we figured out they wanted to know where we are so that they know that we are real. And, we're not like just a briefcase company. But those are the things I think you learn in business. And especially if you're doing things the non-traditional way, I think now you can wake up and launch any product. But 2015, 2016, it was an uphill task. But in your head, you could see, you're like, this is the only way. Personally, I don't have any money for brick-and-mortar. I cannot imagine being, in a store. And you're also seeing the trends, because you remember, I'm in marketing and advertising. I'm seeing how things are moving fast, how digital is taking over, Yeah, and of course, you try to explain even to like my parents, and they're like, again, what is it that you do? Like, when is it that you're going to start working at the United Nations?
That is an impossible task.
Yeah, they're like, okay, you seem like you know what you're doing, but I'm like, I don't know, but we are trying.
Yeah, exactly. Have trust in us, right? Like, you have to kind of build trust with your own network, like a family network, as well as with the customers.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are digital first and with only one product. I see that a lot of entrepreneurs, like in the beginning, when they have an idea, they think they have to have the whole scale, like beard oil is not enough. We need to have also a cream and I don't know, like body wash and what now with it, to have a complete lineup. What was the decision by just doing the oil? And then, like, how did you decide like oil is not enough after maybe some time and to grow to more products? How does that work?
So yeah, it was a budget. It was a budget decision because the money was coming out of pocket. I mean, at the beginning, I had a wish list of products. No, I mean, being a product junkie, let me just say it like that. I knew eventually the men would eventually need like a system, that works. Because you see, you're trying to educate people on how to take care of their beard. And it's not like you have a magic grow. It's not a magic grow you're selling. You're selling a lifestyle and a routine. Because someone who wants to look good, whether it's like a full beard or whatever it is, even just skin, they need a way. Because they would always even ask. So now the questions, when with customers that we had and returning customers, they'd be like, oh, what can I do? Can I use what after that? Because you'd find that now they have different problems. They'd say, maybe I have flyaways or I have a scarce beard. What can I do? So we're like, okay, you can use this. We're coming up with this. And every time we were like researching with our own customers now, and even just generally the market, we would ask them like the challenges they're having. But at the end, the bigger goal was always to have not like 100 products, because also we know men like a simple routine, and the simpler it is, the better it becomes. Yeah. So first, it was a budget issue, because I would personally have loved to launch, like a 5-product line at the same time, but the budget couldn't allow. And also, you're testing a product, you're trying to get proof that this is needed, Yeah, and building awareness around it, building routines around it, and solving like a real problem amongst people, Yeah.
So, in the end, what was the journey from being at home, just doing digital first, to now being in the 70 plus stores, as in 10 years? Like you mentioned patience. So, how long did it take you even to get from to like one retail store, and then did you see like the exponential growth afterwards, or was it always kind of like this year it's one retail store, next year maybe two?
Yeah.
Was it kind of random or was it planned? Sometimes it happens, So, what was it? What was your experience?
Yes, you read all these stories on the internet that somebody has started a company, and within 2 years they've sold the company. And there's a time that was really happening in America, especially. You would hear lots of people in the similar businesses, consumer packaged goods and FMCGs. You'd hear somebody, you'd even see them on Shark Tank. They started a company, they were bought out for $1 million, or whatever it is, and you're like, my goodness, that's the dream. You'd love to be bought out, and you want to be in stores. I personally used to dream. I used to see like it would be like to be in just one store. I, in fact, didn't even care like what store it is, like to see the product, because it's different when you're packing goods. Products for deliveries. It's you and your production, your team, and your deliveries, your logistics. It's different when you see it somewhere, And yeah, it started, to answer your question, it started. We'd have a few barbershops stock to us, and they'd stock us, and then we'd have like gift shops reach out to us and tell us, we'd like to stock your products. Father's Day is coming. Give us a wholesale price, and then we'd have those different partnerships. And it was very exciting because it's not something I had personally never done retail in, like beauty and personal care, but it was very exciting. We're just going with. Honestly, we're going with the flow. And yeah, over time now you have to put structures in place, and you have to do contracts, you have to do payment plans. So it became a different avenue. Yeah. Like maybe 3-4 is when you start, you have two the next year we're like, oh, we're at 10. But then on the 7th, 8th year is when I think the exponentially, because now we started being in pharmacies, in small in stores, beauty stores, and beauty supplies. And I remember there was a big jump. There's a day when we were doing our recon with the team. We had 46 stores, and the next one we had 88 or 89. And I'm like, when did this happen? What has changed? And because now you'd have a partner come in and they say, well, we want to start with 10 stores. And we're like, oh, that's great. So it's adding up, but you're not realizing, because you see, you're still doing your day to day, and you have this goal. You're like, oh, 100. So 100 stores doesn't seem like it's out there. It seems real and tangible. But it's still, I think as a founder, you're still like, you pinch yourself and you're like, oh, this is real. And the other day, we're again doing our tallies, and you're like, oh my goodness, we're at 101, and I know I hear people saying, like, of course I have so many people, inspiration from, even just within the country, and you hear people say, oh, we're in 300 stores and we sell perfume. And I'm like, you're in awe, and you're like, wow, that's like amazing. Other people say, like there's a beauty brand I follow, and she's in, Target stores and Walmart, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So the dream is free. You can dream, and just make sure that you have, like, dreaming is free, but then there's the work that comes with the dream. Yeah, but it's really something else when you can see your product. I always still get excited seeing a product in store, and also imagine being in store and seeing somebody who's never interacted with you, not your friend, not your family, not an acquaintance, and they see them picking your product. They don't know you. They are just doing the business. They pick your product. They're not even asking questions. They put in the cart. They go to the cashier, and you're like, oh my God, this is real. Yeah. And every time I travel around, I always make sure to go and see how the product is doing. And it's always, till today, even as early as last week, you go to a store, you see a product, and they're like, oh yeah, we're running out of this. And you just talk to them. Sometimes you're just like an undercover. You just say, how is the product doing? They tell you the challenges, and it's always really nice. Yeah. And even the most exciting,
essentially, sorry.
In March, I'd gone to Uganda, and we had launched in Uganda late December, early January, and to go to the 5 out of the 6 stores we had, it was, I mean, like a child in a candy shop. You can't even believe it. You're just like, this is real. And you're taking photos and you're sharing with your family and friends. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, but we have, incredible partners. And now the work is to, move the product. Yeah, move the product in store and help more men.
We had a guest.
Yeah.
We had a guest who said that success breeds incompetency, because as you are growing, you have to keep learning what you don't know, and you have to learn it, how to do it. So I imagine in your case, when you were kind of blending the oil together, in the beginning, and setting up the digital website and so on. Now you were telling me that in a couple of years you had to become kind of a CFO, designing payment plans and doing all this kind of stuff that had to be unknown before that. I can even imagine that becoming this little spy you are mentioning, like you're watching people shopping in the pharmacies for your product. Like it feels kind of different, like kind of crazy, observe how they do it and so on. But
Yeah.
in that whole journey, I assume the biggest thing was like how to scale the manufacturing, because as you are growing, I guess you have to manufacture way more than you imagine in the beginning, maybe. But like you said, dream is a dream, right? So you're gonna go to 500 stores now, so the manufacturing will you have to even more scale afterwards. So how was the journey from like we did it all by our hands, delivered by our friends, and now we have a factory, how
Yeah.
did it go? How did you manage to finance it even? That seems difficult by itself to figure that out.
Yeah, so when you're scaling, it's different, because now you obviously can't be mixing the products yourself. So you have to have really good partners, and partners who understand, like, your quality, your formulation. You even have to secure your formulation. And now when you're doing it at scale, because if you're not just producing for, like 20 of your friends, and you want to keep the quality the same, you have to think outside of yourself, and you're like, okay, there's particular products that obviously you can continue to produce internally and in-house, and you choose to do that. But then when it's now beyond your skill, because I'm not I'm not a chemist. You yeah, you do the research, and you partner with people with proper manufacturing, like a proper plant, especially for like more advanced formulations with the shampoo, for example. Yeah, because that one now is beyond the scope. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
important to have those partners. And always the question is, you're moving from producing small, and you're doing like 100 products And then now you have to move. You're like, it's faster than me. And then also you're looking at the internally when you're like, are we going to be able to handle this scale? And consistency is very important. Even just changing, like for example, give up an example for like our some of our like our butters and like some ingredients like the shea butter. Shea butter from Uganda is very different from shea butter from Sudan and Ghana, and West African shea butter. So just to give you an example, and like in the beginning, people could tell. So even the people who would give us would buy our raw products from, they'd tell us, oh, we don't have. We could tell that there's inconsistency. One thing you know about purchasing and all those things, you're like, this is going to be a big problem if we're changing, because you have everything is right. You have your formulas, you have your percentages that you're working with, and then one wrong thing, and people are like, no, this is not the same as last time, and you're just like, no, there's no difference. It's just that there's yellow and there's a white. And now you're like, oh, okay, at scale, this will not hold. Yeah. So you just have to have the right partners on board. Yeah. And it's just an endless thing. It keeps changing. It keeps changing. Because today it's a consistency problem. Tomorrow you're like, okay, I need to lock this in. And you just have to think like in as much as you're an SME, you have to think bigger than yourself. Yeah. And not yourself, bigger than your brand. So yeah, you just let your strengths and other people's strengths. Yeah, so you just combine it.
And essentially, that goes with you from the beginning when you said they contacted you, the first stores, that they wanted to be part with you because they saw the brand stands for quality and for consistency and so on, and people liked it. So I guess you are just building a very strong brand and you're very careful about it based on what you're saying. And maybe that's something in you from the advertising days, but is there also something that you had to learn? That I know there are a bunch of programs like incubators, accelerators, and for different things. So did you participate in any of those that you would say you would recommend it or maybe not?
Yes, Martin, I'm a big learner. In fact, my friends tell me that I'm probably addicted to learning, to like courses and things, incubators. And there's a point early in the business, I saw that I have some like gaps. Because yes, I have, I have some skills, but there's some skills also. One I can't afford at the moment, but I can feel like I need to learn more, because I had many questions. How do people do this? How, if I'm growing from 10 products, 10 a production, a batch, let's say like a small batch, and I want to do like a medium batch, how do I do this? How do I, even things like how do I file taxes and how do I, patent, how do I trademark the name and things like that. And I was like, Google isn't giving me anything. So when I was having those questions, I got him. I signed up for an incubator for women in tech by Standard Chartered, which is run by the Strathmore Business School, and it was amazing. Some of the courses because you go through a program, is it a 6-week or a 10-week program? It's a program, yeah. And then at the end of the program, there was a dollar prize, and I like those because I was like, I think this money is important because any little money we would get, we'd put it back, into production, into marketing, into packaging. And I was like, how are we going to ever grow this if all this money is coming? In fact, I used to ask myself, when will I even pay myself? How are people millionaires? And so these programs came at the right time. And there was a lot of like incubators in Kenya. And I applied for that particular one. And we had really good mentors and really good also trainers. And it was like a business course. And I didn't do business in school. So this was really like a sponge. And it actually came during COVID. So it was, we were home anyway. So you might as well, absorb what you can. And it was a lot of good. And you also have like fellow entrepreneurs. They're doing different businesses, But the challenges are the same, the questions are the same, and you find that there's HR problems. You're like, okay, I have a small team. Am I overworking them? Are they overextending themselves? Me as a founder, I'm the founder, I'm the innovation, I'm how do I divide my time? And there's like really nothing new under the sun. There are people who've done this, and what even was better about the program is it was very specific to like Kenya and the region generally. So it's problems, it's problems with not even problems like challenges with taxes, just all those things, copyright and legal and IP. So it was just at the right time, and it's good that I love learning and finding out things that I don't know. And it was good because I know I didn't have to, because you'd have to get a consultant to do these things for you. You can imagine a HR consultant, a tax consultant, a legal. So the program was really good. And at the end, we pitch, and they would teach us how to like pitch. So remember, I'm coming from an advertising background. When we do our pitches, we take 30 minutes to an hour. It's a whole production. And now for this incubators, they're telling you elevator pitch 1 minute. And I was like, wait, no, I know how to talk a lot. I don't know how to do what. And I remember my first presentation was like 20 minutes, and the mentors and were like, you have to cut it. You have to cut it to 1 minute. I was like, how am I going to explain? I'm trying to build a story. I want to give you a background. I want, and they're like, no, if you can't sell your business in a minute, you're cooked. You're not going to be able to sell. No CEO has time for that. And yeah, eventually after the end of the course, you are able to, compress it and have your main idea within those few minutes and, well, those few seconds. And it really helps. I think learning, you have to like continuously learn. And also things are changing. The landscape is changing. Also businesses are able to know, they adapt to you. Because even like for the banks, they also, they're learning what's this new business that you're doing. And before, I didn't have proof, for the marketing agency that I ran, they could tell, okay, this is a business, you're doing a service. This one, they'll come to the office now and be like, okay, products, you have X amount of products, you want to sell them, you need an advance, or, yeah. So it's different and it's learning. But I think the more adaptable you are as an entrepreneur or just as a founder generally, the better it is for you. Yeah.
I mean, would you say that the most cherished quality in any entrepreneur is that learning aspect, that you don't like stop with that, you are always curious to learn one more thing?
Yeah.
And also I like that you mentioned banks, because usually people hate on banks on these podcasts, but you said even banks are learning from you. So
Yeah.
what is your relationship with learning and banks and all this together? And is there something that people should always consider doing?
Banks. Oh yes. So with that particular program, I remember now. They tell you this is how you do your finances. Of course, like I have an accountant. I mean, an outsourced service. They'll do your returns. They'll advise you how to keep your books. But then the bank is a different thing, because now when you get the one-on-one, they'll be very curious. My bankers are very curious. They're really okay, especially in the beginning. They're like, okay, what's this business? You can see inflow, but can you please try and explain to us what you do? I'm like, okay, come to the office, see what we do. And you could see them. They're like, okay, we understand the business. We're understanding the demand and the in and the out. And I think based on that, we can categorize you under, SME, small business. And for that, you qualify for this amount of money. And then also ask them, what else can we use? Like even POS, I need to link my things, our sales to like the system. And I think it's just been an ongoing conversation. And I tell them like the needs we have. Because you'll tell them we have very high months. Sometimes we have very low seasons where, people are, less. It's seasonal. Let me say that. Like the business can be seasonal. I mean, grooming is forever, but I think with any business, there's always your high months, your low months, and depending on also whatever is happening in the country or the world. So the banks can see you have proper records. They're able to help you. And of course, from growing up, generally banks were never like the favored. You'd hear horror stories about people being auctioned and people, repossession and all those things. So you're always so careful. But now with the banks and also with my curiosity, because I keep asking them, like, what do you have for people like us? People like us, what is it that you can do? And they come back with like a proposal. They're like, for you and where you are at, maybe, but yeah, there's nothing to fear. And they're always, like willing to tell you. If they see like someone who's curious and willing to learn. Yeah, so that's what I can say. Because you really can't grow. I think you need some, because if it's not traditional debt, maybe you have investors, maybe you sell a share, all those things. You have to be comfortable with all sorts of ways of growing your business.
Yeah,
you have to be bold.
So you mentioned, yeah, you have to do anything to survive and grow, right?
Yeah.
So, and essentially, you mentioned that the bank had to categorize you into something, and so they understand what you do and maybe what's your risk as a SME. You're not building roads, you're not mining anything. You are a little different than all the others, I would say.
Yeah.
And especially since you are like digital first, did it stick with you? Are you still selling mostly digital, or did it already turn into selling mostly to the wholesalers, to the pharmacies, and these kind of stores?
We're still an e-commerce heavy brand. Yeah, we still are.
How do you see it now? Yeah.
They understand, and also the retail helped, because now they're like, okay, so this confirms like your idea. People can come and touch your product, see, feel. So they're happy with that, because then now you have invoices, you'll have POs, you'll have those type of things. They're like, okay, this is good. So if you have an order, maybe you'll be able to fulfill it. And it's not just the banks. It's there's other partners we've had. Like we have. I don't know if you know Powered by People. They really help with invoicing. So they can give you advances against your orders, which is really good for. You're able to do production. You're able to do marketing, and it helps with cash flow really, because there's nothing as bad as you're stuck and there's no more money from your pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're waiting for the invoices to be paid.
Yeah. So I think the thing about entrepreneurship that I've learned is you have to try. You have to try. You can't be, because people will tell you things and people will give you, and it's just projection sometimes. Sometimes they're like, okay, I've never experienced it for myself. Let me go to the banks and let me ask them. Let me ask this, partners that are helping entrepreneurs really. Because sometimes it's just a knowledge gap. And you ask them and they tell you, oh, as long as you have these papers and as long as you have this. So you go back and you organize yourself, but sometimes it's like you're too early or it's not aligned, or, but there's always, especially now, it's really open, especially creative industries. There's a little bit of focus on that. Yeah, there's companies are working with entrepreneurs. And also, it's good to be a woman, because you now there's funds for women. So you have to be aware, and then you have to try. You try. Some people, of course, they don't. You'll do pitches over pitches. You'll do presentations, and they still don't get it, or you just don't align with them, and that's okay. You just know how to do it the next time. Yeah, because you can't stop. You can't be like, everybody has refused. You have to make a way until there's no. You have to try avenues. Yeah. Different avenues.
And I feel also important thing is what you mentioned, like I'm a woman, like you have to know your strengths, right? Everybody has their strengths, and not every investor or bank is suitable for you, right? So like go where you are welcome. Don't try to push
go
through
where you're welcome. Exactly.
That don't exist.
Yeah, and even there's one bank I challenged, and they were saying that they're promoting women, and they had a women something. And I was like, why are you saying you have a women some fund and this is not it? And they're like, oh, you have to have a threshold of about, your bank has to have. So, you challenge them and they come back and they're like, okay, for you, there's this, let us try. Let's give you a small overdraft you can pay within a year so that you can prove yourself. Even we've gotten facilities for like 6 months and you prove yourself. So I think first, to remove the fear, for me, I had to change my mindset and be like, okay, to be able to have this, I have to at least, you have to try not to have that same story everybody is having. That, like, let me try. If they refuse, it's okay. I'll know that's how it is. But yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And
True.
since beginning, we said you love the digital media, right? You are the IT guru in the beginning of your company, and you are still digital first, right? So how do you see now the wave of AI tools coming up? And into literally everything from marketing to coding to doing
Yeah.
voiceovers. So how do you use it, or are you like, it's gonna go away, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Despite the challenges of, like connectivity and all, I've always been so fascinated about everything internet, And I remember now, like I was telling you, the advertising, and then now, the IT, then moved to digital, and then now it's everything is AI. Everything is the chats there, because it's such a and everything has completely changed, and you really have to move with the times, you know. You cannot ignore. You really cannot ignore. Like there's a report that came out this week on where people in Kenya, in particular, are getting their news source. And before, it used to be like 80% from the traditional media, like TV, radio, but now it's moved. It's significantly bigger. Like I don't know what the statistic is, but it's a huge amount. I don't know, between 50 and 70% of people getting their news from online, whether it's social media or whatever, or Googling, or I don't know where they're getting their information from, but we're not relying on digital. And you can imagine as like what that means. Like when I see such a report, I'm so awed, and I'm like, wow, we are living in those times that people used to say, oh, in 2050, in 2030, everything will be online. And for real, we are living in those times. Because if there's breaking news, the first thing someone goes is, I don't know, you'll go check on X, you'll go check on whatever source it is. It'll be digital first. So with AI and the way things are moving, you just have to be in the system, and we use AI to help, like, plan for our content. Even like we have helping people to manage like your diary so that you don't overbook or double book, or book a day before. There's so many uses for AI, and I think we've just barely scratched the surface. The other weekend, I was with a friend who was saying, and she'll know this when I say this. She says she has Claude, so she uses Claude, and she says, "My Claudia." She's even nicknamed her AI. Claudia has changed my life. Yeah, because she runs a consulting business, and she's like, I put everything, my emails, it organizes my life, and she's able to do so many things. And yeah, I think we're learning how to use, and it's really great for AI to answer your question. Like for us, the analysis, especially analyzing reports, because we do a lot of reporting in, like, where do our customers buy our products from, what it is that they're buying, what time they're buying, and we have these reports. And once you have data, you're able to make decisions, right? Because you could have a feeling or a hunch, which is good. And I mean, I love hunches, but also it's good to have data, because if the data is telling you this product is not working, you must shelve it for some time. Sometimes even I come up with ideas, and we try it, and then the data says impossible. This is not working. You have to, like, even if it's just a product line, you just have to shelve it until, or do completely away with it, because the data doesn't lie. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it helps to be
Yeah.
able to make decisions based on information that you receive, and AI is excellent for that. It's helping us with that.
How hard emotionally it is to shelf a product that you came up with
It's
as an idea.
hard. It's your ego being crushed. It's your time, but it's happened more than once. And I think the faster you're able to, come to terms with it, because and this has been me So you'll have a great idea, even not even just product, a great idea, you think it'll fly, or a campaign idea, it really just doesn't resonate with the audience, and you have to shelve it. It hurts. And you try it, sometimes you give it more than the timeline, but then at the end of the day, you're like, this is not working, and the numbers are not flying. So it's hard. It's really hard. But it's ego. It's all ego.
Yeah, of course,
And heartbreak.
because we all think we have this awesome idea, right?
I know
and the
that will
data
change
shows
the
us
world. Yeah.
it wasn't that awesome.
Yeah, it was good for you. It was good for you, not for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes
Exactly.
it's not that, Martin, I don't think sometimes I think it's not that the idea is bad, or sometimes it could just be timing. It could just be the wrong time, or you're either very early or very late, or yeah, sometimes it could just be timing, or it's just not for that time, or for the people you're thinking. Because sometimes you think this product would be so good for this, and then a completely different, maybe now that you've created something for maybe older people, maybe a higher demographic, and then you find that maybe the younger people in university are liking it more, are the ones buying, are the ones looking at your ads, and you're like, okay, I was misinformed. So sometimes it's not just like a bad idea, it's just timing. Sometimes it's just purely timing.
Gotcha. You mentioned that sometimes the assumption is just wrong, that you made it for older people, but the students are buying it. So that's all not that bad, right? In the end, it's still selling, and you might have to just change the packaging or something like that.
Yeah.
So in the past 10 years, you grew from kitchen to 100 stores and giant digital presence, and helping men with their grooming and doing their even the mental health and everything. Let's see, they're celebrating now 10 years. Where do you think you're going to be in the next 10 years? Because do you have some big dream, big landmark that is going to be 100 but 1,000, or what's in your mind? What's in your fantasy? How are you going to grow Mandevu for the next 10 years?
For the next 10 years. First, obviously, it's really amazing to be able to say you've been around for 10 years, because sometimes things don't stick. And, sometimes, there's businesses I've tried and dreams I had, and they didn't materialize to, like 10 years. And we're not even we're almost 10. Yeah, so it calls for us to dream bigger, because now I'm not alone. We have a team, and like I told you, dreaming is free, because they were like, yeah, we want, in as much as we ship worldwide, it would be great to be in stores, not just in Africa but beyond Africa, because we're in the region. Yes, we do ship. If you're anywhere in the world, you can get our products through our website, and that's the beauty, digital and e-commerce. But yeah, the next 10 years, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. What can I say? We've always had this running joke in the office. We're always saying L'Oreal will come and buy us out, and we're always very happy. Yeah, or Louis Vuitton, LMVH will come and, buy us out, and we'll be able to be, in all stores, in duty free across the world, and, more people using the brand, and also beyond the products, because what we really want to is meant to invest in themselves through, grooming and just taking care. I know even you, Martin, I'm sure you didn't take 1 minute to get ready, just that extra, because you're like, I'm going into studio, I need to look a certain way. It builds your confidence, it builds even your discipline, because it also is beyond the beard, really, because it's how you appear in the world and how you feel about yourself, and now other things like now your mental health and how you take care of yourself. We'd love to reach more men, and would want to say yes. 10 million men have, because the dream was, about 10,000. You just think if we get 10,000 men, but you're like, yeah, if more people know about, that taking care of themselves can really change the world, then we can achieve world peace through personal care, but a fun dream,
men not being frustrated.
Yeah, and just changing that narrative of, men don't take care of themselves. And it's not anything. It's not that we're saying now do a 10-step 10-step taking care of yourself. No, it's just to pause. Just after your shower, you're able to be with yourself. Just 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. You put your beard oil, you look proper. If you keep a beard, it's well maintained. Even if you're barefaced, it's also fine. But you take that time. Yeah. Even during November, we talk about going to your physical. Men, there's a narrative about men fear hospitals and getting your prostate
That's
checked.
true.
Yeah. But just training, you can prevent so many things if you stopped ignoring stuff. If you have a lingering pain in your back, just go and have it checked out. If you're fighting hair loss, what it is that you can do. It's really honestly beyond the beard. Because yes, we do sell products, but beyond that, we're creating a community that cares for itself. Yeah,
you're true. I had to take some time to get ready because first of all, I knew I'm talking to you. And second of all, I'm on camera as well.
You're on camera.
You're right. So kind of gives me a little confidence that I don't look that bad, that I can do it. So you're right. Like essentially, you're making it easy for men to take care of themselves and build their confidence, so they can have a happy life afterwards, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so if somebody wants to be part of this journey of building confidence in people around the world, because you will be shipping around the world, and if it next 10 years will be bought out by L'Oreal or LVMH, so how can they contact you? How can they be part of the journey with you?
Okay. So we're on the Mandevu.com, and on all platforms we're at the Mandevu. And my personal LinkedIn is Njoki Njoroge. I think you will share with them those details, the link. Yeah, I'm always happy to collaborate. The team is always happy to collaborate, whether it's like personally, we have free consultations. Even in Kenya, if you're ever in Kenya and you're on Thika Road, you can always drop in, see whatever product, because some people want to see and smell and touch the product before they buy, or just a consultation, because we do have very many queries. So that's on the personal side, like if you're a customer. Also, if you're like a retailer and you'd like to partner with us, those are the links. Martin and the team will put them up. And also, if you're looking to invest in a homegrown brand, I'd be happy to talk more about this. Yeah. And also, if you're a bank or an investor
or a L'Oreal.
Yeah. Of course, if you're L'Oreal or LMVH, Estée Lauder, who knows? Yeah. We're always happy to talk and happy to partner and take the conversation forward. Yeah, of men taking care of themselves and investing in themselves through personal care.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Njoki, for being open and for being.
Thank you, Martin.
Laughing with us and telling us your story and all those personal experiences. I know so many people who try to build their own brands in various goods, from their own home. So it's also a positive story that somebody can see that it's possible, It's possible to be done, and this is the result. Mandevu is the result. So thank you very much for making time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Thank you. Let's hope this uploads.
Yes, true. And take care, everybody, and see you at the next episode.
All right. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you for joining us on Beyond the Pivot. Remember to subscribe, follow, and share this episode with anyone passionate about Africa's future in business. For more stories and extra resources, visit tambotiseko.com. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and shaping the future of African entrepreneurship.